Hey everyone, it's Phil. We're just about ready to get started. Sorry I'm a minute late, just finishing up something. So if you're here, if you could just type in hello, let me know who's present down in the little box. If you're able to hear me, see me, let me know. Thank you. Hey Nicholas, how you doing, man? Good to see you. How's the audio? Hey Dion. Awesome. Glad you can hear me and see me. Sometimes people have some difficulty. Hey, Carice, Dominique, awesome. Henry, how you doing, man? Good to see you. Fiedler, good to be here. Takel, good to see you. Naomi, thank you. We'll give it another 30 seconds. See who pops on. Looks like we have about 21 people. It's pretty good, right, for a Monday? All right, so, I used to do this training as the third training. Hey, Alexandra, how are you? I used to do this training. It was the third training. So there's kind of a series of 3 that I do for new agents. But I reverse this. For some reason, everybody signs up for the first training. Not everybody, but most people, whether they don't read the entire email or what, sign up for the first training. Hey, Andres, glad you can hear. But this of the 3 is the most important training. So because it's going to talk about how to get your business going. That's really what real estate and becoming a real estate agent is all about. That's where people struggle. They struggle around how to get their business going. That is the hardest part. A lot of times people think about the training, and the training is important. Don't get me wrong. But always be focused on how you're going to get business, and you need to get business from people you don't know. Your friends and family, that's the gravy, right? If you can't hear, refresh your browser if you're having any difficulties with the audio. So again, your friends and family, that's the gravy. Those are the easy ones. Those are the low-hanging fruit. But being able to find people you don't know and get them as clients is really what this is ultimately all about. Hey, Stephanie, how are you? Thank you for being here. So, all right, let me flip the slide and kind of give you the agenda. So we're going to talk tonight about the listing appointment, right? So we're going to kind of talk about, this assumes you have the listing appointment, right? So, and then a little bit later, when we talk about how to get your business going, we're going to talk about how to get listings, right? And then we're going to talk a little bit about the listing presentation. I'm actually going to do the listing presentation that was very effective for me. That got me hundreds and hundreds of listings over the years. So you guys are going to be the seller, and I'm going to be the agent. I'm going to take you through that presentation. And then on Thursday, after the 3 trainings, I'm going to forward everyone a copy of that listing presentation. I've got some nice scripts for prospecting for sale by owner, expired withdrawals, and then I have an appraiser kind of handout that helps you with comping out a property. What are different things worth at different price points. Then we're going to talk about the listing agreement. We're going to kind of go through that. We're going to talk about putting the listing into the MLS, talk about setting up an open house. We're going to talk about uploading the attachments. There are certain attachments that end up needing to be on the listing. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Then we're going to talk about receiving an offer or receiving multiple offers. When you work with a buyer, you submit an offer, right? So it's different. You generate the offer and you submit it to the listing agent. Here, we're talking the seller side. You're going to receive that offer. And I'm going to take you through what are the important points to focus in on when you have an offer come in. Talk a little bit about setting those properties up on third-party websites to make sure that the feed is working from MLS to Zillow, Realtor.com, etc. And then we're going to move on to getting started. And we're going to talk a little bit. I'm going to give you 4 concrete ideas, 4 things you must do in order to become successful in this business. And we're going to talk a little bit about your plan of attack, monitoring how you're doing. All right, so let's move on. Now, again, this is all to help you. You know, we have some Dalton Wade agents. We have some non-Dalton Wade agents. Any questions, just type them in. I'm happy to answer them. If you have any questions in general, we're happy to help. So, you know, this is an interactive session, so feel free to just type in that box and we will get your questions answered. All right, so you've got that listing appointment, right? So you are going to do some advanced work, right? You know, some agents go to the house, meet the client, and then, you know, take a look around and then go back and do the comps. What I like to do, and I found much more effective, was to do those comps in advance. Tomorrow night, I'm working with a buyer. When we submit an offer, we're going to talk about how to comp out a property, right? So, you know, but again, you're going to have to do your comps. Now, again, just kind of a quick summary. So your best comps are something close to that home and something that has recently sold. So the closer, the better. The more recent it sold, the better. That's what you're looking for, right? And then there's some, you know, different things we'll talk about tomorrow. You know, houses on busy streets sell less for a house in a neighborhood. You know, what's a garage worth? What's that third bedroom worth? And you're going to come up with, you know, what you think, you know, that house is worth. You haven't even seen the house, but you've got an idea. Here's what sellers really care about. They care about two things. What are you going to charge me? And how much do you think my house is worth? And that discussion of what you think their house is worth will definitely happen. It tends to happen at the very end of the listing presentation, and you have to, perfect, I'm glad that worked, Andres, thank you. And you have to be prepared for that. Now, again, sometimes, you know, it's a discussion, like what their house is worth, right? You know, I had a client once, I did the listing presentation, and I'm like, okay, I think, you know, we should list it at $439 because they ask. They always ask. You know, sellers have a good idea, right? I mean, there's Zillow with his estimate. There's a lot of online tools. You know, they do their own research. They're not, you know, kind of waiting for you to hold them by the hand, right? So they have an idea of what they want to list it for. So I'm like, $439. Well, you know, we're thinking $459. You know, like, it's their decision. It was a nice property. I said, fine, let's do it. I didn't push back, even though I had, you know, if they wanted to go out $20,000 than my suggested price, all is good. First week, 2 offers in the 450s, house closed at 455. I would have undersold it, underlisted it. Sometimes it's hard to know, right? Even though we do the research, you know, what that house is going to sell for, right? Conversely, I had another listing, I suggest 249. They say 269. First month, probably 11 appointment showings. We did an open house every weekend. We had over 50 people through, no offers. Feedback is you're high, right? So is person 51 going to make an offer? Highly unlikely. The market's telling you you're too high. You're not comparable with what else is out there. Lower the price to 259. We go another month, still no offers. Then 249, and then, you know, within a week we had an offer and it sold at 240. So there I was closer, right? So there's no right or wrong answer. You know, you want to take that listing. The only time you don't want to take that listing is when, you know, that person that you know, I said, hey, let's list it at 249, tells you, oh, it's 329. It's like way off. They're like, you know, you don't even know, you know, they're dreaming. Then you have to ask yourself, do I want that listing? Because what happens is that you don't get any activity. You do open houses, nobody comes. Or, you know, you might get a few people off your signs, but no real interested buyers, right? You know, the perfect home, the perfect listing is just a tiny bit high, and you're getting good traffic through. You're doing open houses. People are calling you off your sign, maybe off the internet, and you're having an opportunity to meet them. And, you know, what we're going to talk about later is why listings are so valuable. Why listings are the most important part of this business is because I call it, they have the multiplier effect. You can get multiple transactions off your listings, meaning you can find buyers for free off your listings. You're not paying Zillow or OpCity or some third party to generate leads for you. No, you're generating your own leads right off your listings. And those listing leads are higher quality leads because people on the internet, a lot of them, are just browsing, even though they put a request out, or they may already have a realtor. So those leads are not as the same quality as your listing leads. Listing leads are by far the best quality leads out there, bar none. That's why listings are so important. Talk more about that in a bit. All right, then you're going to have your listing package, right? That includes the listing agreement, the lead-based paint, LBP. If the house is built before 1978, you got to have a lead-based paint with you. If it's a condominium, you've got to have a condo writer, right? Because there's questions there that buyer needs to know. If it's in an HOA, you're going to have the HOA addendum. And then you're going to have the seller's disclosure. You're bringing everything with you so that if they say, hey, let's go, you can sign them right up. Then you just come back with your photographer and you're off and ready. As opposed to, you don't have all your collateral, they want to get going, then you got to come back, and you never know what can happen. Maybe they change their mind, maybe they get solicited by another realtor. You want to strike while the iron's hot. So you want to have a complete package with you. So you've prepared your comps, you're bringing those with you as well, and then you have your listing package. So you're ready for that appointment. Then you're going to take the tour of the home. You're going to get there and you're going to knock on their door and you're going to take a tour. They're going to tour you through their house. It always works the same way. I cannot think of any time I ever went on a listing appointment. It didn't work like this. What they're doing is they're selling you their home, right? Why are they doing that? Anyone know why the seller might try to be selling you their home? Any idea why that might be? Hey, Ernesto, no worries. We're just getting going. How are you? Anyone have any idea why they might be selling you their home? All right. I'll tell you why, because they want you. There you go. Hey, Renata, that's the right answer. They want the most out of it. They want you to think their house is worth more so you can sell it for more, right? But I have this thing, when we work with a buyer, and tomorrow night, I hope everybody tunes in. Tomorrow night, the training is on working, with a buyer, right? We're not selling anybody anything as a real estate agent. We are there to help them through what can be sometimes a difficult process, right? They're using our knowledge to make selling or buying a home easier, right? So, so I call it, hey, Inga, how are you? Good to see you. Thank you for being here. We're just getting going. We're kind of talking a little bit about, the listing side. We talked a little bit about, preparing the comps, being ready for that appointment, to be knowledgeable, to be able to speak to that seller about what things are going for. Then you're going to have your listing package, which includes the listing agreement, the lead-based paint, the condo writer, all your collateral that you need to put that listing together and get it up very effectively on the MLS. And then you're going to take that tour of the home, right? And as I mentioned, they're going to be selling you the home. But I have this thing, I call it showing the bad, right? When you're a buyer's agent, you want to show the bad. Why is that? Well, a couple of reasons. Showing the bad does a couple things. You have a better chance of getting through the home inspection, right? You don't want your deal to fall apart at home inspection. Deals fall apart there. Right? It happens, but you don't want it to be your fault, meaning you didn't show them the roof. You didn't show them the AC. You didn't show them the electrical. You didn't show them the windows. And then that home inspector showed them all that. And come to find out, the roof is not much life left, $10,000. And they don't have $10,000 to put a new roof on. And then you ask me, I'm the listing agent, and you want $10,000 off. And I'm like, go find another house. Here's the policy, right? If you can see it, meaning when you're showing the house, you really can't be asking for it off during the home inspection. That's not how it works. That roof just didn't get old. It was already old. Needed to be factored into your offer. Now, again, if you find termites or rodents or mold, meaning the home inspector finds stuff like that you never could have seen, then that's fair. You can ask for that off. The other thing showing the bad does, it helps gain the buyer's trust in you. There's a lot of bad real estate agents out there. You do not want to be one of them. Bad real estate agents have a hard time. They don't get referrals. They don't get repeat business. This business in the beginning is brutal, right? Because you got to find business. That's the hardest part. You're going to hear me say that over and over. That's the hardest part, is finding business. That's what you got to focus in on, right? And then when you do find it, you want to do a great job for your client. You know, I had a young couple, just a quick example, taking them out, showed them the bad, you know, found a house, put an offer in, and they're an FHA buyer, and we get beat out by a conventional buyer, supposedly. And then, you know, I kept showing them homes. Nothing compared. Then I got a call from the listing agent on that house. The buyer, you know, buyer's financing fell through. Is my buyer still around? I wrapped that thing up faster than you could say whatever. Got them under agreement, got it closed. And then from there, I ended up selling, they were a young couple. I ended up selling first the wife's parents a home, then the husband's parents a home. And then I got another referral from the wife's parents for like a and their budget was modest. Both, you know, the young couple and, you know, the parents were both, you know, like low twos, high, you know, 180, 190. But then I got a referral at 550. So I ended up, from that one buyer, I got 3 more transactions. That's how you build your business. All right, so you're going to take that tour of that home, right? And you're looking around. You're adjusting your comps, right? You're not telling them, oh, your AC looks like it's about to break. No, you're not saying, oh, that's nice. You're just taking it all in. Like, you looked at the roof, you looked at the AC, you looked at the electrical, you looked at the, you know, how's the floor plan, how's the flow, what type of stuff do they have? Is there a lot of clutter? Harder to sell a house like that, right? You're adjusting kind of, you know, because maybe your comps were a flip, right? And this house, while nice, you know, it's dated. It's not going to sell for as much as the flip, right? Very similar, same square footage, similar floor plan, but not as updated. You gotta adjust, and then you're going to have that conversation, right? So you're going to take that tour. Then you're going to finish the tour. And you're going to sit down with them. Typically, it's at the kitchen table, the dining room table, maybe in the living room, and you're going to have your your laptop or your iPad, and you're going to have a presentation that you're going to tell them how you're going to get their house sold. So let's move into that. So usually I have a cover sheet on this, but, you know, for purposes here, so the first thing I show the seller is what's going on in their neighborhood. How are things selling? So Valrico is a bedroom community east of Tampa. Nice little kind of starter home place, and that's what this that's what this listing was. This was an actual listing presentation I helped one of my agents do. It's a couple years old now, but so, you know, I tell them, I mean, I use the whole, you know, you can do this by zip code, you know, you can do it by town. You know, this was single family. If it's condo, you know, you kind of sort it out, right? So between 200 and 250,000, there were 46 homes for sale. 36 homes had sold in the last 6 months. But look at this. There had been 147 sales in the last 6 months. So that's about 25 homes in this price point in this town are selling every month. There's less than 2 months of inventory. That's nothing, right? That's nothing. Typically, the market is considered balanced when there's 6 months of inventory. So there'd have to be 147 homes for sale for it not to favor the seller or the buyer. But during this time, and it's still kind of that way out there now, lack of inventory, seller's market. Why I show the seller this slide first, and I tell them, does anyone know? Does anyone know why a home might not sell? A couple of reasons. One is fairly easy, and the second one is a little trickier. 2 reasons why a home might not sell. priced incorrectly. Location. Well, Dion, location, price. Thank you, Ernesto. Location is a fact. Clutter. Clutter can affect the price, right? But location and clutter are a function of the price. So if it's in a bad location, that can be fixed by price, right? So clutter, again, they have clutter in their home and they're not willing to sort of declutter. That is going to cost them money. I had this expression, clutter eats your equity. Clutter eats your equity. Clutter will cause your house to sell for less, but that's a function of price. The other reason is poor marketing by the agent, right? Bad photography. Photography is the number one thing you need to get correct. I see so many listings, with not great photography. The listings aren't put together. Your listing is a digital marketing piece, right? That's what you're conveying to that seller. And I'm great at putting that together. I'm going to make that listing as tempting to buyers as possible, right? So I don't do bad marketing. I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm going to do. So that whole thing about marketing, that isn't even a factor with me, or you can tell them with you, right? So the only factor can be is the price, right? So here, what I'm doing is I'm setting the stage. I'm psychologically making them think, well, hey, everything is selling. He's telling me he's going to do a great job with the marketing, which they're going to see, as I execute and as I get that listing live. The only other variable is the price. And then sometimes you have to lower the price to get it sold. Then I move into how are we going to work together? I'm going to recommend the property price, right? And then I tell them, but it's up to you. You're the boss. You're in charge. You're going to tell me. I'm going to educate you. I'm going to show you the comps. We're going to have a discussion, but ultimately it's your house. You get to decide. I'm going to professionally photograph your home. My photographer is awesome. He's wicked. I mean, he has the wide angle lens. He has all the software to enhance those photos. It's going to look beautiful online. I'm going to make some staging suggestions. We talked a little bit about clutter, right? We're going to declutter. I often equate a listing, a new listing, to a movie. When you go to the movies, they don't release the movie, when it's 95% done. It's all done. It's 100% done. It's ready. Still may be a bad movie, but it's all done, complete. And that's the thing with a listing. You're only a new listing once. There are buyers waiting for that next new listing to come out. And as soon as it comes out, they're going to go. So, you want everything as perfect as it possibly can be. I'm able to email the agents and brokers that have buyers looking in your town, in your price point. It's called reverse prospecting. So I introduce the listing, to the agent and broker community, via an email. If we have a price reduction, I might hit them again. If we're doing open houses, I might notify them of that. I'm going to do a set schedule of open houses. Every weekend I am going to be there. Now, again, this is the double benefit, right? So sellers love open houses. The vast majority of them do. The national average is only 10% of homes sell at open houses. When I was out there as an active agent, I was around 15 to 20% because I was doing them all the time. They're a great way to meet buyers. So it has a double benefit. It benefits your seller, right? So that they can possibly, we find a buyer through that channel, and it benefits you as the agent because you can pick up more business. Now, your first duty is to sell that house, but oftentimes open house buyers, they're just starting, they're looking for an agent. I mean, here's an interesting statistic. 75% of first-time home buyers end up working with the first agent they click with. I call it bonding. My significant other is an agent as well. We would say oh, did you bond with anybody? Meaning, did you hit it off with anybody? That's what this is about. People don't go and interview agents. It's not how this business works at all. They don't go interview 3 agents and then pick one who they thought technically was the best. No, it's all about likability, right? They like you, you followed up with them, you planted the seed, hey, let's go look at some homes, and then you have a client. That's how it works. The other 25% are probably referred to somebody, right? So again, open houses are awesome, right? I mean, as a new agent, you should try to be out there, every weekend doing them. I used to do 2 a weekend. I mean, the people that are Dalton Wade agents here on the call, you've met Claren. I met Claren at an open house right when I started my business. She's been instrumental to my success. Open houses are awesome. They're fun. And it's a great way to meet people. And again, Claren does some trainings just on how to conduct a successful open house. I used to go, I don't do it so much anymore. I would go meet agents. I drop in on open houses, just pop in for recruiting purposes. Mortified. I was mortified. What I was seeing out there, unbelievable. Agents in shorts, tank tops, flip-flops, not professionally dressed. The other thing that annoyed me beyond belief, they're logging people in on a piece of paper where you can't even read their handwriting. It's a waste. Why are you even doing this? You're not going to get any business out of it. Log them right in. We have this CRM called Boomtown. Log them right into Boomtown. I used to ask people, hey, would you like me to set you up with a property alert? 95% said yes. Oh, where do you search? Oh, I search on Zillow. Oh, there's a lot of misinformation there. You're right. I mean, we've called on things it's not even for sale. Oh, what comes out from us, it's updated every 15 minutes. It's fair. It's extremely accurate. You're helping them. You're looking better than your competition. You are beginning to bond. So again, we're not going to talk at length about open houses because it is a training in itself. You want to get good at doing open houses, right? There's only so many things you need to get good at in this business, and conducting a successful open house is one of them. We're going to do some social media, right? I'm a whiz on social media in terms of primarily Facebook. I'm going to promote your listing and all the open houses we're going to do. I'm actually going to spend some money and do some sponsored ads to try to drive some traffic to our open houses. Again, they love that, right? I'm going to coordinate all the showings. Nobody's just going to come by your house. Every appointment's going to be confirmed, right? And then I'm going to follow up on all those showings. I'm going to try to get feedback. I'm going to try to see what the buyer community is thinking about your home, right? They're typically out looking at 5, 6, 7 houses. Yours was one of them. How did you stack up? If we continue to hear, gee, we're high, we don't get any offers, that's feedback is invaluable. Sometimes one person will say, gee, I thought the house was not priced right, and the next person puts in an offer. So you never really know. But we're going to provide that seller with feedback. I'm going to negotiate all the offers. Tell them you're an outstanding listener. You're an outstanding negotiator. What do I mean by that? Here's the thing. Who is that buyer? I had an agent, and she kind of struggled as an agent, and she had been from academia, and her husband was being transferred back, to Oklahoma City, and she really wasn't comfortable selling her house herself. So she asked me to sell it for her. It's a couple years back, 2.5 years ago. So, I take her through this presentation. First weekend, we're doing some open houses. I actually have one of my agents conducting the open house. At the end, I call, how'd it go? He said, yeah, we had 12 people through. One couple was here the entire time. That night, in comes an offer. So the house is listed at $279. The offer comes in at $265. They want $5,000 in closing costs. They also want a home sale contingency, meaning they have to sell their house in order to buy this house. They also have an appraisal contingency, which is, again, something I'm not a fan of. Now, FHA, VA, there's always an appraisal contingency. It's built into the deal. But a conventional buyer, there is no appraisal contingency unless specifically added in through an addendum, an appraisal addendum. So I get the offer, and that's not a great offer, right? So I get the offer, but I knew it was that couple that was there. And then I call the agent. I'm like, hey, where's their, where's their pre-approval? I need their pre-approval. He goes, okay, I'll send it over. So it comes over, and then I read it, and there's no mention of them having to sell their house, and their house is under agreement. So I call them back. I'm like, hey, I don't see anything about that home sale contingency in their pre-approval. Meaning some buyers, like, they can't buy the next house without selling the house they're in now. That's fairly common, right? But these folks actually could buy both houses, could own two houses at the same time. And that's what the buyer's agent told me. As soon as I heard that, we had all the cards. Because here's what was going to happen. In 3 weeks, they're homeless. They're homeless, or they're moving in with their parents. Their house is going to be sold in 3 weeks. They've identified this house as the one they want. I got all the cards. So I call my client up. I'm like, okay, here's what I found out. They look pretty good. They've got a great pre-approval, but they don't have to sell their house to buy your house. Here's what I think we should do. Let's get rid of that home sale contingency. Let's get rid of that inspection contingency. We'll go back to them full price, $279, and we'll give them $5,000 off for closing costs. That was the counter, and they accepted it. Why? From experience, I knew they were under the gun, right? I listened. I found out who that buyer was. Conversely, you might have a buyer that's leasing. These are stories you tell to clients, to sellers. That makes you seem like, oh, this guy's on top of things. He's going to help us get more money. That's how you earn your commission, right? That person that's leasing, harder to push, right? Not really under the gun to buy. Got 5 more months on their lease. Come in with a low ball offer. If they get it, great. If not, they just keep looking. Tougher to, and that's what you're going to tell your client. We'll get back out there and find somebody else. But you want to try, when you're the listing agent, you want to find out who that buyer is, what's their circumstances, and you can use that to your advantage and your client's advantage. Negotiation of the home inspection issues, right? Again, I said before, here's the policy, and this is what I'm going to tell the seller. Here's what I think our policy should be. Some buyers use the home inspection to second bite at the apple, beat up the seller some more, try to get the price knocked down. Here's my thing, right? If they can see it, there's no negotiation. If that roof is old and you want money off for the roof out of the home inspection, go find another house. Again, but I've already briefed my client how we're handling the home inspection. Now, again, as I mentioned, if they find things that agent and that buyer never could have seen, well, we probably have to fix it. Nobody's buying a house with termites or rodents or mold. The buyer's agent isn't expected to kind of find those things. But that roof, that AC, that electrical, those windows, you need to be looking at those as a buyer's agent and educating your client on how to look at a home. But you've told them kind of what your policy is in advance. You're hard-nosed. People like that because you're representing them well. Then you're going to review the settlement statement with them so that they know all the charges, and then closing. Then I'm going to take them through how we do the marketing. Dalton Wade and myself, internet marketing, that's all. You can get some business. I don't know how many buyers read the newspaper anymore. A lot of times people, agents advertise in newspapers, self-serving to get more business, right? To get more listings, not to find buyers, right? So we are looking to find, buyers through the internet, right? So that you understand how the internet works. It works like this. It gets entered into the MLS, right? And then it gets pushed out to all the agents, all the brokers, right? They're all able to see. You have MLS access. You're able to see the listings. But then it goes out to really 2 other groups. Every brokerage firm's website has all the listings. So Dalton Wade's listings are on Caldwell Banker or on Century 21, Remax, Keller Williams, right? The internet is the great equalizer. Now, on Caldwell Banker's, Dalton Wade listings on Caldwell Banker are there, but our agents aren't there. Meaning what they do is they have a Caldwell Banker on my Dalton Wade listing. That's how it works. Just like on the Dalton Wade website, I have my agents on their listings. It's called Internet Data Exchange. So you want to explain that to your clients so they understand how the internet works, how that distribution of that listing, it all happens in the back end of the MLS. It's pushed out. All the data comes from the MLS. And then the other sites are, what I call consumer sites. They're not brokerage sites. Zillow, Realtor.com, Trulia. That's why it's important. You want to have I can't tell you how many calls I get as the broker for my agent's listings, because I hate to say this, and I told them and I talked to them about it, they're clueless, sad. Those are so valuable, those calls. Because it's somebody calling you on your listing. Let me tell you what my statistics were on people that called me on my listing. It's crazy. Internet leads converted about 3%. Open house leads, maybe 5 to 7%. Better. Somebody calling me off my listing, meaning I showed them my listing. I converted 1 out of 4, 25%. They either called me off my sign, found me on the internet, and wanted to see my listing. Sure. Let's go. When do you want to look? And again, everything is pre-planned in this business. That's when you get good at this, right? Like, yeah, my first duty, show them that house, try to sell them that house. But what I learned was that 99% of people I showed my listing to, not in an open house, but one-on-one, never bought it as hard as I try. So I already know that the chances of me getting this person to purchase that listing is very, very small. But here's what I also found. 25% of them I would get as my buyer's clients. How did I do that? As soon as I knew they weren't buying, the whole conversation changed. I'm ready for it. I already know it's going to happen. I know exactly how that appointment is going. Show them the house, find out they're probably not interested in the house, ask them why they called the listing agent. Why'd you call the listing agent? The listing agent doesn't care if you overpay. I'll make sure you never overpay. I'm very knowledgeable about what things go for here. And again, we talk listings, right? When you're the listing agent, you are like the big man on campus. And again, doing somebody else's open house, awesome, it's fine. But your name isn't on the sign, and people pick up on that. But when your name is on the sign and you're running that open house or you're showing them that listing, gee, he has a listing. He must be knowledgeable. It gives you more credibility. But I would ask them, why'd you call the listing agent? The listing agent doesn't care if you overpay. They're getting double the money, double the commission. I'll make sure you never overpay. Got a great network of lenders, title companies, inspectors. I will really help you through what can be a tricky process. Would you like to go out and look at some homes? 1 out of 4 said yes. That's where you want to get to, right? There's certain things in this business you want to get good at, and that's one of them. Oftentimes, like, again, kind of in the same vein, Zillow. Here's a little bit on Zillow. Zillow, it's either a love-hate relationship. Personally, I love them because they've helped build my business. They've helped build my agent's business. But here's what's interesting. If you're on a Zillow listing, if you're going to do some Zillow marketing, you want to, kind of know this, right? So you're on a Zillow listing, and there's the listing agent, and then there's 3 other agents that are advertisers. And then above the agents, right, are a big red button that says contact agent. 90% of people, consumers on Zillow, that's what they click on. They don't click on a specific agent. So they don't even know who's calling them. They don't even know what that agent is. Again, I can't tell you how many times through Zillow, when I was an active agent, I'd be showing somebody a home and they'd say to me, "Are you the listing agent?" I got that question numerous times. And I was ready to defend myself as to like why you never would want to call the listing agent. The listing agent, you know, people think, I don't know what they think, but it's a recipe to get screwed. The seller has representation, don't you? The listing agent doesn't care if you overpay. You got to be ready, you know, and you guys will get better at that as time goes on. So that's the other source. So you've got the brokerage community, the listing is there, and then it's on Zillow, Realtor.com. But again, you want to make sure, do a little audit, check and see. You know, one of the best lead sources out there is Realtor.com. They don't even promote this product anymore. If you have a listing, right, and you're not paying them and it's not expensive, and someone clicks contact agent on your listing, they sell that lead to somebody else. You should be getting that lead. Why? Because if you're good, you'll have a 25% conversion. You have that person in the house that you know a lot about. So the takeaway is on every single website with the feed from MLS. Social media, again, same thing where you're going to be promoting. Yep, exactly. Realtor.com does not send you your leads on your listings unless you pay them. And it's probably one of the best investments. They don't talk about it. It's kind of a secret, but it's good to know. I mean, check it out when you have your first listing. Click contact agent, see how many people call you. Zillow is different. Zillow and Trulia are now one company. Zillow used to have like a product where you could be on 5 of your listings. They've done away with that. You are on your listing, but there are 3 other people on there with you as well. And it'll say listing agent. Now, again, I don't know, we're going to talk, I believe, on Wednesday night. One of the things as a new agent, you want to make sure your Zillow profile, they're all free. Your Realtor.com profile, your Homes.com, you have profiles with your photo and your bio on those accounts. Because if you do have a listing and you don't have an account with them, then your broker's phone number is there and it's a blank avatar. It's you know, you got to kind of figure out like the marketing, how all like this stuff gets distributed. Just check it out. Go and I mean, we're going to talk about that in a bit. You know, look on Zillow, look on Realtor.com, look on Trulia, look on Homes.com. Find your listing. Are you there? Is your phone number there? I get the calls all day. It drives me absolutely crazy. Where'd you find my number? Oh, it's on Realtor.com, because the agent, you know, hasn't fixed it. They don't even probably have an account with Realtor.com. Social media, right? So again, you know, social media, Facebook, we all know how popular that is. You can run some nice ads. You know, Boomtown, which is our CRM, is kind of, you know, and also our agent website. You can, you know, copy the URL off your agent site, and, you know, maybe it's a pool home. You show a picture of the pool, little verbiage, and then to learn more, click. And then they click, it takes them to your website. They look at 4 photos, and then they register, and you have a lead, right? You know, it's that double benefit. It's something good for your seller, and it's also something potentially good for yourself. And it doesn't cost a lot of money. Open houses, right? Here I'm telling them we're going to do one every single week for the next 6 weeks. Why? Because sellers like it. Sellers thinks it's a way of getting the house sold. And it does, but it also is generating you high quality leads that you're going to follow up with correctly. Here I put, you know, we're only going to do it for an hour and a half. Why? Like, I'll see an open house. It'll be scheduled for 4 hours, like a complete waste of time. 10 people come in 4 hours. That's 2 people every hour, 2.5 people. It looks dead. Nobody's here. This house isn't selling. Oh, I got all 10 people to come in an hour and a half. Looks busy. There's activity. There's action. Plus, it allows me to do, one open house 12 to 1:30, and then another one 2:30 to 4. I'm generating open house leads off my listings. Then I'm going to go through the price here. At Dalton Wade, you can charge whatever you want. Here it was 5% that we were offering, 2% for the buyer's agent, 2% for the listing agent, 3% for the buyer's agent. And then if he found a buyer without an agent, he was going to get 3%, no co-broke. He was going a little bit on the reduction of the 2% because he was also going to be their buyer's agent when they sold this house. So he was getting paid, on 2 transactions. So he was a little bit more aggressive, or wanted to be. He ended up getting this listing. He ended up selling it directly. He got 3%, and then he ended up selling them the next house. Then you're going to summarize, professional photography, wide angle lens, all the top software. It's going to look great online. Top internet campaign, strong social media, focus on open houses, great feedback and follow up. Tell them, if you're at Dalton Wade, you can say we are excellent negotiators. The brokerage this year will do over 3,000 transactions. So, you want to, make them feel that, you're part of a team, and that team has some experience, and you're going to do a great job for them. So now you've delivered your presentation, and you're going to get into, the pricing, right? And you're going to have that discussion with them as to what you think it's worth, right? And then you're going to tell them, and they're going to tell you what they think. And then you're going to have, a debate, a discussion, and you're going to hopefully agree upon a price. Hopefully the price is close to what you, wanted to list it at. If it's too high, then you have to ask yourself, your whole strategy, right? If the house is listed too high, the whole strategy of meeting buyers kind of goes down the drain, right? Because nobody comes. People know what stuff is worth, right? They're looking and they know, oh, that's a neighborhood where things should sell for, $325 and it's listed for $399. They just don't go. It stunts your opportunities. The perfect house is just a little bit overpriced, just a little bit high. So you get people through, and then it gets dropped and it sells. And then hopefully during that period, you met, a buyer or two and you picked them up. That's the idea. Now, again, first duty is always to sell that house, but sometimes they take time, right? And you can meet, some potentially very good buyers, at your open houses. So that's the listing presentation. Any questions before we move on? I'm going to share this, email you the PowerPoint Thursday, as I mentioned. Any questions before I flip the slide? Practice it, deliver it to your husband, your wife, your friend. That first listing appointment, you may be a little nervous. Just do it. All right, Ernesto, what do you got? You have a question? Type it in. Oh, thank you, Dion. Thank you. All right, we're just getting going here. That was just an example, Ernesto. Again, you can do whatever you think is best. The idea is to get the listing. I'm going to tell you a couple of stories that'll probably bend your ear and you'll think I'm crazy, but it worked. So again, it was why he did 2 in this case was because, okay, Renata, Facebook is the lowest quality leads. I'm going to say that again. Facebook are the lowest quality leads. Here's why. And I've done a lot of research on this. Somebody on Facebook, and here's the issue. Facebook leads probably convert at 1 out of 200, 0.5%. Why is that? What happens is somebody sees that ad on Facebook and there's some nice pictures. They click, it takes them either to a landing page or a website, and then typically they look at some more photos, and then forced registration happens. Like they have to register, they have to give up their email and their phone number. So they're forced to do that. Oftentimes they give bad numbers. But here's the thing, they are not on Facebook thinking about real estate. They kind of got sucked in by the ad. And that's why they convert at such a low level. Now, as an agent, and the problem is, 1 out of 200 convert. But you don't know which one it is, so you have to treat all 200 exactly the same. Now, again, we use Boomtown here at Dalton Wade, and it has some, what are called smart drip campaigns. So you can like almost automate your marketing to those people, but you got to hit them all because you don't know which one is the one that ultimately becomes a transaction. I'm not saying there aren't any transactions on Facebook, and the cost is low, but in terms of your conversion, it will be the lowest. The next is Google. Google converts at a little bit higher, meaning you did an ad, a sponsored ad on Google. It might be something like see all the MLS listings, in X town under 500,000, or check out all the pool, whatever it is. Now, somebody has typed in a keyword real estate related. That's the big difference between Google and Facebook. Facebook, people are on Facebook, they're not thinking about real estate. They got sucked in. Google, they at least typed the real estate keyword in for the ad to appear. And then it goes Zillow. Zillow converts. Zillow tends to be a much more ready to go buyer. What are your thoughts on mailings? Also, I'm setting those for sellers. I am not a believer in mailings. Nope, I'm not a believer in mailings. I'm not a believer in door knockers. I'm not a believer in door knocking. What I'm a believer in is expired, withdrawn, for sale by owners, and calling them. Call them. And be ready to sell them. Be ready to tell them how you're going to help them. I'll give you my for sale by owner story. Well, I'm going to save it. And a couple good stories for you. But I'm not a fan of mailings. Here's why I don't like mailings, right? I'm not to say that, I ask my agents, like, what's working? The thing with mailings is so many of them go to people that aren't actually interested, right? When you're going after for sale by owner, expired, withdrawn, I'll tell it in a bit, Ernesto. let me get to that. But they're either trying to sell or have tried to sell, right? It's a much more targeted audience. Plus, it doesn't cost any money to call them. 10 calls a day. 10 calls a day. There's 20 business days in a month. That's 200 calls that you made. If you get a 1% conversion, that's 2 listings. It can be done. But what happens with most agents is they don't make the calls. As long as they're not on the do not call list, you can call them. There are some services, Dominique. We're about to launch a product for our agents where we're providing, there are services that provide the phone numbers. We're about to launch a product in the next couple of weeks. We've been working on it where we're going to compile the information and get it out to our agents to call. So yeah, you can definitely call, provided they're not on the do not call list. Did I ever call somebody on the do not call list? I did. I never had an issue. The compilers use multiple sources to come up with the phone numbers. I'm not saying that everyone is good, but again, remember, here's another one that I used to use, Craigslist. It's kind of a forgotten thing these days, right? Or Zillow, for sale by owner. My thing was mostly for sale by owners. I was much better at that. Yeah, you can sort Zillow by for sale by owner. The phone number's right there. Call them up. let me say one thing: never lie. Never tell them you have a buyer when you don't, right? But you can, how's it going? With for sale by owners, you got to be aggressive on your commission. Yes, they will be scrubbed against the do not call list, most definitely. Yep. Yep. So that's coming, and you're on the leads, Melissa. So that'll be part of it. Yep, that's coming. We're probably gonna announce it, in the next hopefully week to 2 weeks. So some good things. All right, so let's keep going here. Let's talk a little bit about the listing agreement. So if you go on the Join Dalton Wade website, I actually have a sample listing agreement you can look at to see how it was filled out. So it tells you, which boxes to fill in. It kind of matches up with your MLS input. Here's the number one thing we see agents get wrong with the listing agreement. So, let's use that example of the 5%, in 3 to the co-broke. So there in section 8, which is the compensation to the broker. So the seller pays the listing agent the full commission. So that's 5%, right? And then it'll say what the co-broke is being offered, 3%. Oftentimes, many times, we see listings come in and we fix them and we call, but you don't want to go back to your client and have them have to re-execute the thing. Oftentimes we'll see, let's just say it's 6%. We'll see 3 and 3, meaning 3% to the brokerage and then 3% to the co-broke. If it's filled out like that and the seller pushed you've basically worked for zero. So be careful on that. That's a common mistake. But use the Join Dalton Wade on the training tab. There's an executed listing agreement, people's names crossed out. It'll show you how most of them will still talk to you. They will, but again, you don't want to. It's just like another chip in your mortar, so to speak. All right, onward. All right, so if you're part of the Stellar MLS, all MLSs require the ad edit class. That's where the broker gives you authorization to put in your listing. In some brokerages, they don't allow the agents to put their listings in. It's done by the administrative staff because they want to keep the agent down. They want to not let the agent be knowledgeable about how all this works, right? So you have to take the ad edit class. Then your broker gives you access and you're able to enter your listing. Now, if you're in the Stellar MLS, which is basically from Sarasota through Tampa over to Orlando, there's a data entry form that has to be signed by the seller saying that all the data being input is correct. The Miami MLS, Fort Lauderdale, Fort Myers, they don't require those forms. So good for you. But obviously you want to make sure all the data, is correct prior to making that listing live. Hey, Linda, how are you? I've taken listings for 30 days. 30 days. You got to get the listing right. And then I was so confident in myself that if I didn't sell it, I know they're going to re-sign with me. I'm not going to lose that listing because I do a great job, right? So, there is no set time frame. It's all negotiable. Typically, it can be canceled at any time you want to do that. That's another thing I would tell them, cancel at any time. Sometimes there's a cancellation fee. A lot of stuff that realtors have done historically is like anti-consumer. It's all to benefit them. That's why some people don't like realtors, because the system, I don't want to say is rigged against them, but I don't know, but yeah, you can ask for a cancellation fee. Sometimes, you might have spent some money on the photography and then they want to cancel, you should be reimbursed for that. Everything is negotiable. The time period, the cancellation fee, if it's to be canceled, you You don't have to. I mean, there's a thing on MLS called conditionally withdrawn, meaning it's canceled, but if that house sells, money is still owed to the brokerage. But to answer your question, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, you know, whatever, 120 days, a year, you know, agents are taught, like, go for the juggler. Get them to sign up for a year, then you got them. Like, I just find that so bad, right? You know, you want to make it easy for people, but it's whatever, you know, it's whatever is good by you. Certainly works here. All right, let's talk about this. This is another annoyance for me, and I don't know, you know. So here, there are certain things that are part of the listing, right? There's the seller's disclosure, the lead paint disclosure, the condo rider, the HOA addendum. These are all the HOA addendum, the lead paint, and the condo rider. They're all part of the contract. They're addendums to the contract. Now, you'll be a buyer's agent, and you know your buyer wants to put an offer in, and none of this stuff is there. It's not attached to the listing. It's because the listing agent is weak. The listing agent didn't take my training. The listing agent may not know what they're doing. It's a tip-off, right? I mean, all that stuff should be there. So when that offer comes in, it's all filled out, it's all done correctly, and you're ready to go. You want to be that good agent, right? You want to be that good listing agent. You want to have all, you know, the seller's disclosure, the lead, it's all right there for the buyer's agent to access. They sign it, complete it, all is good. You know, I mean, the lead-based paint is crazy. You know, I mean, I was trained up in Boston. Everything is built before 1978. Not everything, but 90% of the listings, 90% of the homes have a lead-based paint. So I'm very familiar with it. You know, I had an agent call me, you know, one of my agents telling me there's no lead-based paint, and he called the listing agent. She told him to fill it out. That's a $3,000 fine. $3,000 fine if you get audited and the buyer signed it first. You know, this is simple. Like, it's not, you know, this isn't complicated. But, you know, there's part-time agents, there's inexperienced agents, there's agents that just don't care. There's a lot of good agents, right? And on their listings, this stuff is there. You want to have it there. It's part of your package. Any questions on any of this? Seller's disclosure. I mean, that's a whole training in itself. We're not going to do that tonight. The lead-based paint, the condo rider. Most definitely. Upload those HOA docs if you got them. I mean, it's better if you don't provide the HOA docs, right, or the HOA addendum or the condo rider to that buyer can cancel the day of closing, and they're entitled to get their deposits back. They have 3 days to review that stuff, and they can cancel. If you haven't provided it to them, yeah, I mean, if you have them listed, definitely, it makes it easier. You know, you don't want to be doing things, you know, so much of my training, and then again tomorrow night when we kind of talk about working with a buyer, is agents shoot themselves in the foot all the time because they don't know what they're doing. They make mistakes, right, that are lack of knowledge. The training I conduct is every mistake I made, everything that I messed up. Like, now I know most of them, right? So that's, you know, that's what we're going to talk about. All right, onward. All right, so, you know, as I mentioned, when you work with a buyer, you submit an offer. When you work with the seller, you receive the offer, right? When you work with the buyer, you submit the offer. When you work with the seller, you receive the offer. Now, most sellers focus on the price. What's the offer, right? But there's some other very, very important things that they may not key in on that I want you guys to key in on if you're the listing agent, when you're the listing agent. Seek large escrow deposit. So when you work with a buyer, you want to put in as little money as possible in case something goes amok. Protecting your buyer's deposits is critical. Another area where I see agents, my agents, I do the training, I tell them, but it doesn't sink in. The mechanics of protecting their deposit, their buyer's deposit, doesn't completely register until they get burned. What do I mean? What I mean is that the client didn't get the loan and their financing contingency evaporated. It's not there anymore and they're not entitled to get their deposit back. It's terrible. They didn't get the loan. They spent money on the appraisal, the inspection, maybe the loan application, and then they lose their deposit. We're going to talk more about that tomorrow night. That just should never be an issue. Now, okay, your buyer can lose their deposit. As long as the buyer knows they're, going to lose it, then it's fine, right? We're not telling anybody anything here. We're letting them know what their options are. I'll give you an example. This is on the seller side. That offer comes in and there's $1,000 deposit. I might say something like this: hey, they're offering $1,000 for escrow. If they can walk away the day before closing, and they all we're going to get probably is $1,000. Even though they went through the inspection and they got the loan, they found a better house and they walked away on us. We get $1,000. What do you think? Should I go back and ask them for $5,000? I explained to them what can happen. Every seller that I ever said that to said, get $5,000. Like, you already know the answer because you're helping them. Maybe you settle on 3, but it's better than 1,000. Seek short inspection period. The as-is contract. The buyer has an automatic free look. They can cancel for any reason. They don't need a reason. I've had agents call me and say, hey, I'm out with a client. They want to put 2 offers in on 2 different houses. Is that okay? Yeah, that's fine. You can do that. One's going to cancel. That agent's not going to be happy. But most times, that offer comes in, they want 15 days for the home inspection. They'll take 15 days. There is no set rule there, Inga. 1%, is to me nothing. In Massachusetts, it was 5%. People put up some money. You had a $400,000 home, they put up 20 grand. Like, people were serious. Here, $1,000 sometimes you can tie up a house. Now, again, if you're the buyer's agent, you want to put as little as possible down. Maybe, again, you don't have an agent who really knows what they're doing on the listing side. Same with the home inspection, right? I mean, the default is 15 days. Things cancel on home inspection. If you've got a hot listing, there's a lot of activity, go back to them and say, you got 7 days. Again, you have to talk to your client. But you might say something like this: hey, let me go back to them, and tell them, they got 7 days to do that home inspection. Because if they take 15 days, they're going to cancel in 15 days, and we just wasted time. Wouldn't it be better to know if they're not moving forward in 7 days, and then maybe you agree on 10? But you're there helping your client. Again, things cancel at home inspection. If that's going to happen, you want to get that house back out on the market as quickly as possible. Short home inspection when you're the listing agent. When you're the listing agent, don't let people push you around. I had one client once, this is a funny story, again, the buyers, they did the home inspection and they came back and they wanted $17,000, a big house. They asked for $17,000 off for the roof. The roof was kind of shot, like a $625,000 home. My client, who was like a hot ticket, he used this word, flick 'em. He goes, flick 'em. He goes, Phil, flick 'em $100. They want $17,000. He's offering them $100 on the roof. They took it. They backed down. He called their bluff. He wasn't being pushed around. Sometimes you got to be hard-nosed. If you found one buyer, you'll find another. Always get their pre-approval or proof of funds. Let's talk a little bit about pre-approvals. Pre-approvals sometimes aren't worth, the paper they're written on, right? I mean, I just had an agent, I got a call from his client. She's the listing side. She's livid. They're pre-approved by Chase. They're going through home, first-time home buy, down payment assistance, and Chase can't get out of their own way and get it done. And now, they've been fooling around for 2.5 months. They're supposed to close today, and she's bummed because they're not done. Here are the bad lenders. I'm going to tell you who they are. Be careful of them. Bank of America, Chase, Citi, PNC, TD Bank, Fifth Third Bank, Citibank, any of the big banks, you will have Wells Fargo. Personally, I am 0 for 14 with Bank of America. 0 for 14. Hold on, my phone is ringing. That was interesting. That was the agent who I just mentioned who was having the problem with Chase, right? Again, and we're going to talk about this on two sides. If you're the buyer, they don't care. They're too big. They just don't care. It makes, and we're going to talk more about this tomorrow night when we talk about working with a buyer. But, when your buyer is using a lender you don't know, you've lost control of the deal. It may close. They may do a great job, but it may not. I just heard a story from an agent where they couldn't close on time and they canceled on them because they had a backup offer and they went with that. Lenders can mess you up big time as an agent. You showed them 30 houses. You thought they were never going to put an offer in. Finally, they did. Tough home inspection. And then the lender couldn't close on time. And your deal canceled on you through no fault of your own. But when you're the listing agent, you don't want to have that happen, right? I mean, you want to talk to their lender. A lot of times, Bank of America, Chase, Citi, there's nobody to talk to. What I started doing was, okay, if that's who you're pre-approved by, I need to have my lender pre-approve you. You don't have to use my lender. Nope, but my lender is going to pre-approve. Again, I'm going to tell, sometimes I start to sound like it's me, but I'm telling my client, hey, look, they have a pre-approval from somebody that doesn't have a very good reputation, who doesn't close on time. Would it be okay if I had my lender pre-approve them? They all will tell you 100% of the time that is okay, because again, it's in their best interest to do that, right? So you want to scrutinize those pre-approvals, right? Because, getting an offer, putting something under agreement, it's all good, but if it doesn't close, it's a waste of time. You got to start all over, again. Talk more about pre-approvals tomorrow night. All right, multiple offers. Say you're fortunate enough to have 2 offers come in, 3 offers come in. Okay, you cannot be negotiating with 2 or 3 people, right? There is none of that. Who knows? You have 3 offers. 3 offers come in. What do you do? How do you handle it? There's 3 words. One starts with an H. Who knows? Anybody know? Highest and best. Right to highest and best. There is no negotiating with 3 people. You cannot be countering 2 or 3 people. If they accept your counter, we are in trouble. We're going to get sued. There's only one house to sell. Can't be countering 2 people. You have to present all offers to the seller. But as soon as you have, and again, never lie. There are agents that will tell you they have an offer and it's highest and best, and they're lying. Never do that. But what you do is if you have, 3 valid offers, you tell those 3 people that hey, tomorrow at 5 p.m., I'm going to sit down with my client. We're going to go through them all, and we're picking one. And you give them a chance to up their offer. Get us your final offer. Make sure you've given us your highest and best offer. Some people don't like to play that game. Others will bid it up. Multiple offers, you have a couple of offers. You want to present them all to your seller. I mean, we had an agent once that basically told us he had presented, he was at a different brokerage. He had presented our offer. We didn't get it. We're like, okay, send us the email where you forwarded our offer to your client. Couldn't do it. He was lying. He probably had both sides and just stuffed. Have integrity. Have integrity. The money will come. It's how do you handle backup offers? Meaning as the listing agent or as the buyer's agent or both? Well, as the buyer's agent, you put it in as a backup offer. You really should as the listing agent, you want backup offers because you never know what's going to happen. You never know. Like that buyer, can maybe not get their financing. And if they, they start asking for, when buyers start asking for extensions, it's not a good sign. Usually it can still close, right? But sometimes there's something else going on in their file that's causing, like we had one of the agents where there were the buyer had like committed bank fraud, basically changed some documents, fraudulently, and you could, there was issues like right with the file and what is kickoff? Kickbacks? Kick out clause? Kick-out clause. Kick-out clause are difficult because is that what it is, Inga? Kick-out clause? Okay, kick-out clause for those who don't know. So kick-out clause is when you're the listing agent, right, and an offer comes in, but there's a home sale contingency, right? So what a kick-out clause allows is that if another offer comes in, you can kick them out. I mean, they can remove that home sale contingency, but you can kick them out. Now, the problem with kick-out clauses is this. You still have to mark it as pending in the MLS. And the MLS doesn't really have a notation where it tells, like the MLS I belong to in Massachusetts, you could note it and people could see that there was a kick-out clause telling them that offers still can come in. Here, it's under agreement and it's not out there. And it really stunts any additional offer. So it's hard to get offers with a kick-out clause. Hopefully that answered your question. So it's not the greatest. I mean, when you sign a buyer up and they have a house to sell, you should feel fairly confident that that house is going to sell. Like, again, people will put in offers when their house isn't even on the market. I'm not accepting, or I'm telling my client, that's like, forget that. We'll find somebody else. Their house is listed, but it's not under agreement. Forget that. We'll find somebody else. Right? Like that example I gave where their house was under agreement. I looked at that contract and I looked at that buyer's pre-approval and it looked good to me. So I had a fairly high degree of confidence that their house was going to close, and therefore they were able to buy, my listing. So, that's what you need to do. You need to make sure that that house is under agreement. Again, I mean, it's nothing you do, it's consulting with your client. So that's multiple offers, highest and best, no negotiating with more than one party. All right, so we talked a little bit about, previously Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com, home. So when you get your first listing, you want to make sure that it's on those sites, right? And you're there, right? And it's under you. It's all based off of your agent ID. That's how it pulls the data. So you want to make sure you have that free account with Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com, Homes.com. Because again, I mean, even getting your picture, your bio on the Dalton Wade site, all those sites are indexed. What do I mean by indexed? They're indexed by Google. So somebody types in your name, real estate agent, it comes up. And you want something, a nice photo, a nice bio. At least it shows, you're an agent. What you don't want, I mean, Google your own name after this call. Type it in and see what comes up. Type in Ernesto Arguella, real estate agent, and see what's there. See the first page. What links are there? And if it doesn't look good, or there's stuff coming up without photos. That's a good one, Melissa. That's a really good question. That's really a question for the title company. So if you're using the same title company, difficult. I mean, I know agents put stuff on the market all the time back on. I just had this discussion with a title agent. She won't close anything. So say that, that first offer, or that first agreement is in her office, and then she doesn't have the release and cancellation. She's not closing it with anybody else. Now, could that listing agent go to somebody else, meaning a different title company? It's possible. That's a tricky one. That's when you need to be calling your broker and getting some advice. Technically, the answer is no, but does it happen? Yes. Always the best thing is to, the whole thing with the release and cancellation, I mean, it's kind of a negotiated thing. You don't have to necessarily keep the property pending. You could flip it to active. It just is when that next offer comes in, it gets a little bit dicey. Let me do a little follow-up research on that for you, and I'll get back to you tomorrow. Hey, Linda. Well, I mean, we do have transaction coordinators. They charge $390. I spelled coordinator wrong. We'll just keep it simple, TC. So we have TCs. So they'll do all that for you. I know you're a newer agent, so my suggestion would be at least the first few times to do it yourself. Like Lisa will help you. She won't actually do the input, but if you have any questions, she'll help walk. I'm typing in her number here. I mean, so we will assist, but still you're kind of doing it. There's an extra fee if you want a transaction coordinator. It's $390. They'll do everything for you. I'll send you the brochure on kind of their services. Thank you, Ernesto. But so that's kind of how that works. So again, you want to make sure that feed is working. All right. So again, really, this is the most important part of the training. It has to do with getting your business going. And how to do that. So, there's no, this is how I got my business going 2 times, right? So it's just kind of me. Certainly there are other things out there that somebody can do. Like this isn't an all-encompassing list, But I do think it is 4 things that are fairly accomplishable, that you can get done to help grow your business. So the first one is listings, right? I talked about calling, right? That's kind of what I did. I just found calling, you can email somebody, but calling them is better. Like, it's that ability to sort of engage them. People like to talk, that's why people, when they're selling their home, it's low key. You're not pressuring them. You're just trying to help them. Right. But you got to have your stick. You got to find out, kind of what works. I mean, if you go on, with all of these 4 things, listings, internet leads, social media, sphere of influence, as an agent, I mean, go on YouTube, spend a few hours watching some YouTube videos on these subjects, type in for sale by owner, listing agent, expired listing, real estate agent, internet leads, many videos come up with agents nice enough, to share information, share what works for them, share how they did it. Now, some things, like whenever like I did some research on open houses because I did a training, and the best open houses, I Googled, and this thing comes up, mega open house, and I watch it. And but what was interesting is some of the things he did, like I would never do. He talked about putting a table at the front of the door, like right at the doorway. And if like people weren't willing to sign in, he didn't let them in. Like, that's crazy. Like, you got to find a balance. You got, like, is somebody going to like that? Are they going to like him? I wouldn't like that. Remember what I said, 75%, it's because they like you. You hit it off with them. Different people hit it off with it, right? You help them, So, you got to take what you see, what you hear, what you watch, and you try to develop it into your strategy. That's the hardest part. The hardest part is in the execution. Listings. I was going to tell that story. I'm going to tell it now. Some of you might have taken this training before. I mean, have heard it. My first listing in Florida was a cold call. She was a for sale by owner. She had paid $99 for the house to be on MLS. Hey, it's Phil Wade, Dalton Wade Real Estate. It's like a little over 4 years ago. I have never sold anything. I'm just starting again. And I have no agents. I hated Boston because it was cold. I love Florida because it's warm. I feel so much better, right? But I took a little time off, but then like my bank account's going negative or in the wrong direction. Time to start working again. So I call her up. Hey, it's Phil Wade, Dalton Wade Real Estate Group. I know what you want. You want to charge me 6%, keep 4, give 2. I'm having none of it. And she's about to hang up on me. And I'm like, oh, no, that's not what I was thinking. No, that's not what I was thinking at all. I'll charge you 0.5%. It's an $895,000 listing, mind you, on the beach. So okay, I'll charge you 0.5%. We'll give 2.5% to the buyer's agent. I can talk really fast. Well, I'll professionally photograph your house. I'll do social media, open houses. I will really improve your listing. What do you think? Literally, guys, next words are, when you coming over? I get the listing, first listing. What happened? One buyer. I found one buyer that I showed that property, that condo to, and I picked them up and I sold them a $915,000 property. We hit it off. We bonded. They were from New Jersey. $27,300. Do you remember that listing I told you, that listing appointment I went on when I wanted to list it for $439 and they told me nope, $459, and I sold it in a week? 2 offers in the 450s. That was a referral from Susan and Bill, the people I cold called. It took me 10 months to sell that listing. When I sold it, made $4,500. but in total, I made $45,000. Now, if I had come to her and said, I want 6%, I never got that listing. I'm $45,000 poorer. FSBOs, well, you have to make it easy for them, Inga. You have to make it FSBOs. It's all about the money. It's all about the money. They don't understand what it is to be a real estate agent. They don't understand what selling a home involves, what it entails, how complicated it can be. They think it's easy. Sometimes they end up being their own worst enemy. But you got to talk their language, which is a reduced rate. Linda, you can. It's a little bit harder because I'll look to tomorrow. I'm going to get back to you on that other thing. I'm going to look tomorrow and see what's in the Miami MLS. You can. There's nothing. You can definitely do it. It's just a question of, will it get enough exposure? It may. I have to look. Or you can look tonight when we're done. Type it in and see, type in Key Largo and see what comes up. There is a separate MLS for that county. So I'm not sure. I'll have to look, but I will get back to you on that. FSBOs, again, you got to have a sharp pencil, but think of it like this. This is how I thought of it. Why I would reduce my commission is because they were generating free leads. So I could pay Zillow, right, and maybe get some leads, or I could pay my seller in the form of a reduced commission. I opted for the seller, and when I first started, my strategy, cold call, and I bought some Zillow leads, and within 6 months I was rocking. So again, you got to find what works for you. If any of you guys are going to spend money, shoot me a text, email me, give me a call, right? Meaning you're going to invest in some program. Somebody's trying to sell you something. Why I like Zillow? Here's Dalton Wade's deal with Zillow. Cancelable at any time. Pay them at the beginning of the month, and then 2 weeks into the month, cancel. They'll refund half my money. How great is that? Be careful of people that want to sign you up for 6 months with no cancellation, because they all tell you it works, but then if it doesn't work, you blew your budget. Like any Facebook stuff, that stuff doesn't work. That's a great question. So actually I heard the Zillow economist speak probably about 2 or 3 years ago now. They talked about it. So 80% of the listings are within 5%. The next 10% are within 10%, and the last 10% are off by 20% or more. No, that's not true, Renata. I mean, Zillow and Trulia are together. It's one company now. I'm not as much a fan with Realtor.com because they're shared leads, and you can't get out. It's 6 months minimum. So if it doesn't work, you're out of luck. And again, Zillow. I mean, if you called Zillow tomorrow, they're going to try to sign you up for 6 months. It's because, we spend, an ungodly amount of money, with Zillow. So they give us, and I couldn't spend it unless I had that deal with them. I'm spending it on my agents to help them. So if I didn't have that ability to cancel at any time, couldn't do it. Again, Zillow, I know works better than Realtor.com. I've tested all this stuff out. Does Zillow work for everybody? No. Some agents will not be successful with Zillow, but I've seen many, 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 many of my agents build their business off of Zillow. There are good leads in there. You have to work them. You have to work them properly. All right, expired withdrawn. They so that's kind of a different group than for sale by owner. Expired withdrawn. They usually have paid, quote quote, the full commission, right? You can see they offered. You can see, you don't know exactly, but you can see what the buyer's agent was offered, and you get a sense, that they're willing to pay 5 or 6%. You got to call them, and you got to look at their listing. Like, why didn't that listing sell? Oftentimes it's because the realtor, remember what I said, when I asked you guys, I said, what are the 2 reasons why a home doesn't sell? Price and marketing by the agent. A lot of expired withdrawn listings, it's bad marketing by the agent. They didn't do anything. Terrible photos. You see them all the time. They're terrible looking listings. They're not bringing people in. I looked at a listing by an agent. Somebody asked me to look. The first 7 photos are the outside of the house. People tend to look at 3 or 4 photos. If you haven't captured them by then to want to make an appointment, they're gone. They're on to the next listing. Here's what sells houses: kitchens and bathrooms. I took over a FSBO listing. The guy, he liked his backyard. He had a big backyard, and that's what he talked about, and that's what he showed. He also had a $35,000 brand spanking new kitchen that was like photo number 20. Nobody got to photo 20. I rephotographed his house, didn't lower the price. I sold it in a week. I was able to create a better story online than he ever did. And there's agents like that as well. There's good agents that, know what they're doing. And invest some money in getting that listing sold through good photography. The photography is the number one thing, but you might ask, you call that expired, and you might ask them, like, did your previous agent you already know the answer because you looked at the listing. Did your previous agent have your home professionally photographed? No, I don't believe he did. Oh, I always use a professional. It didn't sell for a reason. And the reason was the agent was, did he do open houses? No, he didn't do any. He did one the first weekend. He says open houses don't work. I'll be there every weekend. Did he do any social media? No, not that I'm aware of. So you're fixing what went wrong, and you're selling yourself. Doesn't always work. It doesn't even work some of the time. But, you might hit upon the right person that message resonates with. But here's the thing. You got to make the calls. Most agents, did anybody make any calls prospecting expired withdrawn FSBOs today? Did anybody make any calls that's on this call? My guess is nobody did. It is the number one most important thing to do to get your business going. It's the thing agents hate the most. I didn't like making cold calls, but I did it. And then you don't have to do it as much once your business gets going. Then you have people calling you. People will call internet leads because they believe, oh, that person reached out to me and I have a lead, so I can call them. But it's that cold call that people have a harder time with. Internet leads, again, this is all about getting good, right? And I've seen wide variations in agents as it comes to internet leads. Zillow did a study. If you're on Zillow and you get called sometimes, they record your call. All the calls are recorded. So they listened to 1,000 calls, and they were shocked because what they heard were agents Droopy the dog, agents seeming like that call was a bother. Those are the statistics. You got to be, pumped up, have that great phone voice, a lot of energy. But again, you gotta treat those leads in a way Yeah, it's true. You got to treat those leads like internet leads work like this. And this is Zillow leads. This is from my Zillow rep. Out of 100 leads, 3% will turn into a transaction. Of those 3%, half, meaning 1.5%, will turn into a transaction within 90 days, meaning you met them, you took them out, and they went under agreement fairly quickly. Smile on your voice. There you go. Thank you, Renata. That's exactly what it is. The other half can take a couple years, but it's that ability to keep in touch with them, right? I'll give you a quick story. This is a true story. I get a call from one of my agents a few years ago, and she calls and she says, we use Boomtown, and all the Zillow leads dump right in there so they can be worked out of there. It's got some great software to keep in touch with your leads. So she says, I got a lead. It didn't go into Boomtown. I already know what that means. That person's email address is registered with another agent. So I look, she called them. She noted what happened. They were up in New York and they were selling their house, but it wasn't sold yet. And then she put them in nurture, which means she was going to follow up with them. She never followed up. She never followed up again. 5 months later, and it was just luck that they contacted another Dalton Wade agent. I transferred the lead. 45 days later, $9,500 commission to agent 2. Agent 1 had them. Agent 1 had them. All she had to do was maybe throw 1 or 2 phone calls into them and send them some texts and emails. Keep the dialogue going. Check in. How's it going? What are you doing? I mean, I use Boomtown for my recruiting, right? Ernesto, I don't know how many times we called him. more than 20, I bet. Eventually, because what it is Ernesto wasn't ready, right? And when you're an agent about to go to a different brokerages, you're nervous. I see it all the time, right? What's it going to be like? Is it really like that? And then they come and they like it, right? But again, it was the same thing. You had to, it works the same with all agents. It's and it's the same for, you guys. They will pick an agent. It's a little different because I'm trying to get somebody to move from one broker to another, right? You guys, they will pick an agent. You want to become their agent before you've even met them because you're showing them great follow-up. You're checking in. How's it going? What's going on? Thank you, Ernesto. So that's how it works. It's that keep in touch, right? Because again, what happens is if you don't keep in touch, that lead that you had, remember I mentioned that the people that convert fall into 2 groups. They find an agent and that agent converts them into a sale fairly quickly. So they were in that second group, but then they found a different agent because the first agent didn't follow up. Boomtown is a heavy-duty piece of software. Again, most agents don't really use it as effectively. I mean, that's where the business is today. It's all online. I don't really consider Inga multifamily to be commercial, just kind of the way I was trained. But no, not specifically. I mean, people don't kind of come up. I mean, you could do something. You could maybe run a Facebook or Google campaign. I don't know. So I don't really have a good answer there, unfortunately. So that's internet leads. Again, it's something to get good at. So think of your day, right? What do we do as real estate agents? We go to show homes, go on listing presentations, go to home inspections, and go to closings. That's the work outside of your office. The other part of your day is an hour a day. You're making your calls. An hour a day, you're working on your internet leads. How's it going? You're moving them along, right? To see if they want to go out and look at some property. Social media, let's talk a little bit about that. Social media, again, these are almost trainings like in themselves. So we're going to talk a little bit about it. what do I see on social media? What I see from agents is pictures of their listings and pictures of their closings. That doesn't cut it. What do I mean by that? What are you really trying to do, right? Let me just go through the people that have asked. Renata, she's not a Dalton Wade agent. Few others have chimed in. Dominique, not a Dalton Wade agent. Naomi, not a Dalton Wade agent. Dion, not a Dalton Wade agent. I bet you there's more on this call, right, that haven't typed anything in. So why do I let why am I training other agents that don't even work for me? There's a secret there. What I found was that when I started doing that, I started getting more agents. Agents love the training. Better training than they got at their own broker. Charge significantly less. You can apply that same concept. What you're trying to do is you're trying to educate your buyers, right? You're trying to, you're providing valuable information. You're blogging. You're writing about, that first-time home buyer. Maybe, here's another one that I've been trying to get somebody to do. Nobody does it. First-time home buyer webinar. Promote it on Facebook. It's not a lot of money. This software is about $100 a month. Have a professional mic. My first webinars, I didn't do that well. Didn't have a mic. My internet kept cutting out on me, but I kept doing it, got better at it. You got to try some things. You got to put yourself out there. You got to figure it out. I know it would work. I know you would get people to tune in, and if you gave them a great presentation, a lot of them will work with you. Why wouldn't they? It captures their email, their phone number. Remember, 75% of first-time home buyers end up working with that agent they bond with. So you bonded with them online. It used to be first-time home buyer seminars, like you would do it at an attorney's office or a title company or a lender. Now you can just do it right online. Sphere of influence, right? So every agent is taught, okay, you want to let your family, your friends, your business associates know that you're an agent. Again, that's the low-hanging fruit, right? I had an agent, she came over, she's been with me now for, probably 8 months, heavy duty agent, strong. When I first met her, very nice lady, but she's got the Century 21 is where she came from. And she's got a pin, right? And it's a Century 21 badge, but below it says problem solver. And I asked her, I'm like, that is cool. And she says, it works. People come up to her and comment on it. It's an icebreaker. You have to be able to talk to people you don't know. Our office is in this co-workspace, right? So it's a lot of people here. Some people just, rent a desk for $100 a month, have internet access. So I see this young lady, coming in. I never had seen her before. And I know she doesn't know where she's going, what she's doing, so it's like, you go over here. And then this was one of my lines. What do you do? Like I ask people, if I make eye contact, strike up a conversation, yeah, you can ask Clarence. We have them. They're inexpensive. But I asked her, what do you do? People love talking about themselves. What do you do? And she fell right into it. I just wanted to see if I could still do it, if I still had, that bonding ability. She's, oh, I'm a digital media expert. All our employees work remotely. It's a great company. I was having difficulty working at home. Tells me her story. And then like clockwork, it came. What do you do? Right? That's the next question. They're not, people are very self-serving if you ask them what they do and then they never ask you, right? Oh, and if I was an active agent, and she was at the age of being a first-time home buyer, and I would have went into, here's my card, I hit it off with her. If you know of any, right? I broke the ice. I made that happen. I have an agent, he has a broken gas cap on his truck. This is crazy, but it's true. Broken gas cap. People come up to him and say, hey, your gas cap is off. That's his icebreaker. They start talking. He starts talking. He's a real estate agent. Three closings. From the broken, up north, I was doing a deal with a nice agent, and I was always curious, and I asked her, like, how'd you find your buyer? How'd you get your buyer? Oh, I give out 3 business cards every day, relentlessly. I meet people, make eye contact. How's it going? What are you doing? There you go. It's all about breaking that ice, with people you don't know. Your family, friends, but that's the easy ones. Those are the gravy. I had an agent, he came from Remax. He didn't end up joining me. His first 2 months, 4 deals, but it was all family and friends. Then he went 9 months, nothing, no transactions in 9 months. He was probably not even in the business anymore. I'm like, are you doing any calling, any FSBO withdrawn expired prospecting? No, I don't. Nope, don't do that. What about internet leads? Have you purchased anything from Zillow, Realtor.com, OpCity? There's services where you can pay on the back end. Nope. What about social media? What do you do? Oh, I don't like social media. He wasn't doing anything. This is about marketing yourself. He wasn't good at that. Every agent that when you drive around and you see that for sale sign, that agent was new, just like you are. In the wrong business, for sure. Without a doubt. A lot of people come into this business not really knowing, not really being prepared, for really what's involved. And it's not, the technical part of it you can get, if a good broker will help you, other agents will help you, but that ability to market yourself, to be able to, connect with people, that's what it's all about. And that's what you got to get good at. Yeah, well, there's so much more to it. That's kind of what we do after. It's the stuff before, which is finding the business, putting yourself out there, having a strategy. You have 2 things. You have your human capital. Does anybody know what your human capital is? Your human capital is your time. Your time is valuable. You want to put your time to good use. That's where the call, that's why I like calling. If you can make that work, you're off to the races, because it doesn't cost anything other than your time. And as a new agent, you should have some time, but you got to make the calls. About a year ago, I got in our conference room with 7 of the agents. Yeah, easy money. Well, it's not easy money. It's a lot of work. There's no such thing as easy money, but sometimes that's what people think. I got in the conference room with like 8 agents. I made some calls to FISBOs. I actually got an appointment. None of them called afterwards. None of them did it. Again, you can find your own way, and it doesn't necessarily have to be calling. But calling, certainly, if you can figure that out, if you can make it work, you can get your business going fairly quickly. All right, we're just about done. All right, so here's the last thing. So, keep yourself on a very, very short leash. Today is October 8th, right? Today, or 7th. Today is the first day, right? Everything in the past it doesn't count, doesn't matter, right? It's all about what's ahead, right? How am I doing? In 2 weeks, how many calls did I make? Did I make those? 2 weeks is 10 days, 10 days, 10 calls. It's all. Did I make those 100 calls? Did I actually set aside, 11 to 12 to make those calls? How am I doing? Am I doing this? I had one agent, he's no longer with me. The best I could tell, he told me he was nice enough to say he's leaving, and he was leaving with somebody from a different brokerage. He was going there. He goes, he was here like 5 months. I'm going to hunker down. He goes, Phil, I'm hunkering down. I'm like, all right, Mark, good luck. Hunkering down, 5 months went by. The best I could tell he did was like things on Facebook. We have a private agent group. Somebody would post something, he would like it. That's like he it's marketing. Businesses, generate sales, commissions through marketing, right? You got to come up with marketing to drive your business, either through spending some money, which is your financial capital, or investing your time very, very wisely. Step back. What's my plan? What am I going to do? It's pretty good, in just a little over 4 years. It's because, and again, thank you, Ernesto. But it's what happens, when, and you guys are all starting a new business. That's what being a real estate agent is. I mean, I didn't have 429 agents right away. It's taken, 4 years and 3 months and 7 days to make it happen. But I work my tail off. And you can too, because what happens is over time, like, it gets easier. Where my business is right now, I'm ready to explode. I can't even keep up because I have really the best offering, I think, out there. Do the agents take advantage of it? Hopefully they do. There's some great tools. There you go. It's exactly what you got to do. But you got to find those things, Inga, that are effective, that work. I knew for me, like the calling, like that worked for me because I got business off it. I used to have this, like I called it, this spam email I used to send to for sale by owner on Craigslist. That worked. I got business. You got to find what works. And then hopefully what it is something you can do more of. That's the nice thing about, Zillow, right? And I know $1,000 is a lot of money, but like, gee, I spent $1,000 on Zillow and it generated $4,000. Well, you know what? I'm buying another zip code. I'm going to spend $2,000. Now I'm getting $8,000. Now I made $6,000. That's the nice thing about Zillow is it's expandable, right? So you're looking for, things that you can just like one-offs that you can't replicate. Those are harder, but check in, see how you're doing, monitor your progress. You guys can do this. Persevere, keep at it. It's a great business, but you gotta be focused, diligent, and work hard. All right, thank you so much for being here. I know I went over a little bit on the time. Any last questions before we call it a night? Thank you, Ernesto. Good. Glad you're here. All right, Stephanie Willis-Shaw, thank you so much. Shelly, thank you. All right, guys, don't forget to sign up for tomorrow night's training, Working with a Buyer, equally as important. Some really good stuff there. Some pitfalls that I'm going to teach you to avoid. All right, Naomi, thank you. All right, guys, have a great evening. Again, thank you so much.